Hi, Shelly. Thank you so much for joining me in this podcast episode. Really appreciate it. How are you today?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're most welcome. I'm super excited to have a conversation with you in a different topic, which is like emotional eating and food craving. So, before we jump into the topic, I'd love to know more about yourself. Like, how did you like be aware of what to eat, how we should eat, and how often to eat? So, how did you came across with the kind of topic and you work on the subject and you helping other people? Like, how all this started?
Yeah. It's a bit of a roundabout way. Like I got interested in nutrition from an eighth grade science fair project. And then I went into college for nutrition to be a dietitian. When I got out of school, my first job was in the hospital.
Mhm.
Realized that all of the things that we were teaching people were not the things that were helpful for them in that moment.
Yeah.
And it just felt like people were set up to fail and then we were going to blame them for it. So I had started learning like a very small amount about some weight neutral care and like a non-diet approach, which is instead of focusing on all these rules, we
Yeah.
focus instead on the things that we're doing, the cues that are coming from our inside, right? Our own
Yeah.
bodies. And we match that with nutrition science, but we don't let the nutrition science dictate everything that we do.
Hmm.
And so when I started learning more about that and I was trying to figure out my own health stuff that I was going through, it really started showing more results. And then I was teaching it to my clients and they were getting better results. And then I started learning more about this process called intuitive eating. And once I learned that, then everything started clicking together and it made more sense and there's science behind it. So I got really excited about it. And so that's where we are now is I got my certification in intuitive eating and I'm teaching it from that perspective of the nutrition side of things because I am still a dietitian.
Yeah.
Um, but it's just been so much more freeing now because it's based on, enjoyment and satisfaction and being able to choose things that you like rather than forcing yourself to eat something just because it's, quote unquote, good for you.
Mm. Yeah. Interesting. So, emotional eating, like when do you people like emotional eat? Do you think like is it after like they're losing their job or like something happened on their family or like going through depression moment?
Oh, those are all possibilities. Yeah, definitely. When we think about like a major emotional moment or crisis, or just something where it's really challenging our coping skills,
Yeah.
you might see like a bigger instance of that, or maybe you might see instances of emotional eating or eating for emotional reasons, um, in somebody who doesn't normally do that, like doesn't have that pattern of interacting with their food.
Hmm.
But I think more than that, I think it's just whenever the coping strategy, either your normal coping strategies aren't enough for the situation, or this is your normal coping strategy. That's when you see like either that instance, like you're talking about, a major change in your life, or where it's this pattern of behavior. And it doesn't mean that like this is wrong. Actually, that's one of the things that I teach people is like when we're talking about eating for emotional reasons, we all do it. So sometimes you're even going to see people doing this because, say, at New Year's or something, and you take the beverage, and what do people do? Or at a wedding, they'll say, cheers. And then they all clink glasses and we all take a sip, right? But it's not because you were thirsty. It's because that's what you do, right? You're celebrating.
Yeah.
And that celebration is a habit, right? That's a norm in our society, but it's also part of the emotional aspect of celebration. And when we think about things like, oh, we're going to go for a birthday or we're going to go do something, there is that celebration feeling, or there is something, comforting about food when you talk about food as comfort. Like there's all these different functions of food that is more than just our biological need for it.
Hmm.
And it's not to say that those are bad things. If it's a pattern, if that's the only coping skill you have, it's the only way that you can express these emotions, then it becomes very unhelpful. And you're probably not satisfied with that anyway, right?
Yeah.
But like if it happens once in a while, or this is the way you most enjoy doing this particular thing, okay, it's not like a damaging event, right?
Right.
It's So anytime we're choosing this as our expression or our coping, and that's
Mm,
when you could see it, it's usually not, those aren't usually the instances that we worry, like that individuals worry about, right? Like
yeah.
more so they're saying like, oh, every time I feel sad, I eat, or every time I'm angry, I eat. Um, and then that's when you say, okay, this is a pattern. Would you like to learn different coping skills?
Okay. So yeah, like I've been through that in my life as well, where like a emotional time hits in and just focus on the eating, and I feel like there is no tomorrow, and I can't see like a way out of it, and start eating like whatever rubbish food in there, like crisps, cheeseburgers, all of them. And then I regret it because I have a IBD, inflammatory bowel disease, and the flare-ups comes in and I bleed, and then I realize like what I'm doing, just being a stupid. So yeah, last 1 year, like it's been a great with my healthy diet and everything. I stuck around, and I see the difference on my body, energy level, and everything else. And also, I had an issue with like food cravings, and food cravings that never gone to like emotionally or anything like that. I used to like food, and I used to be when I was a child, young kid. I used to be like overweight, and yeah, I've been bullied a lot in the school life because of that. And I used to like food, and I don't know why. So, what do you think? Like, what causes like food cravings to people?
Oh, that's another big topic. Yeah. Um, I, you know, I think sometimes the food cravings are just natural. We're wired to enjoy food and want
Mm,
foods because we need them, right? There are certain biological functions that we need for survival. So
yeah,
it's very useful for us to be able to be driven to those things. That said, kind of like what we're talking about with the eating for emotional reasons, is if we have a habit of this, or if we see this pattern in our lives, it may be pointing to something different. And one of the top things that I find with the women I work with is sometimes the cravings are because you're not allowing yourself to have certain foods, or you're not eating enough in general.
yeah,
Um, and then you get that biological kick in, like, hey, we're not eating enough food, so of course you're going to be craving foods, whatever kind that is, right?
yeah,
um on the other side, if it's something like, hey, I'm craving something because, of what, like, I usually ask, there's more to it than just wanting the food most of the time.
mhm,
So sometimes it can be linked to those emotions, right? I'm craving a particular food because this food is always very comforting. It's associated with good emotions and memories, and I'm not feeling so great right now. And so I would like to have that feeling that I'm going to get from that food emotionally.
yeah,
Sometimes it's also because the foods itself make us feel good physiologically. So, like in our brain, certain things happen when we eat certain foods, and it feels really good. Like we get those neurotransmitters and some hormones released that help us feel better emotionally. And so, yeah, we're going to want those at certain times.
mhm,
But, it's also like, if I tell you right now, don't think about your phone,
yeah,
what did you just think about?
yeah. The phone comes to first in the mind.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Were you thinking about your phone prior to me telling you not to?
no, focusing on the
Okay.
podcast.
So we just set up a situation now where you have to use willpower in order to not think about something. Like in order to follow the rules, you have to use willpower. But before the
Mhm,
rule existed, you didn't even care, right?
yeah, yeah,
So if we say, okay, if this food is off limits, because typically we're not like, oh, I'm so distressed, I'm craving a salad. We just go eat the salad.
mm,
It's when we're craving certain things that we've deemed as off limits, whether by ourselves or by society or because somebody's misusing science or whatever it is, that we're only distressed by these things when we think it's not okay, right? So when we say that our food has some kind of morality attached to it, like I'm going to be a better person or I'm going to be a worse person, I'm eating so bad or so good, those kinds of things, then of course we're going to have a bunch of drama around our cravings. We don't usually think about that if it's like, I've eaten a bunch of stuff and, I've been away from home and I haven't been in my normal things and I've just been craving my favorite food right now because I just haven't been able to make it. Things like that. Like, okay,
yeah.
it's not distressing, right? It's just that's how it is. And I just want this thing. It's a preference. I want my mom's food or something because I haven't had her
Mm,
cooking in a while. Things like that. Like, okay, but those don't tend to distress us. I mean, sometimes they do, but generally, we're only thinking about it when it's something that is based on a rule, right? Somebody has told us or we've decided that we can't have that food and it becomes something now we have to resist. And one of the biggest ways to reduce the cravings overall is to just say, okay, all of my foods are okay.
yeah,
Right off the bat, all my foods are okay. And food is neutral. It doesn't mean that they're all going to act the same way in our bodies. And you know this, somebody with IBD, you know
yeah.
this. And then we can get into some of these other things that I say, like, okay, well, what will satisfy now and after you eat?
Mm,
So it may be that you're craving a bunch of stuff that, yes, it would taste delicious right now. And if you ate it, like that's the only thing you think about, and you just paid attention to your cravings and you ate them, still would be neutral, right? You would just be
yeah,
uncomfortable afterwards.
yeah.
And that's not as helpful for your overall health.
So
But if you said, I'm going
how
to
do
eat all
you,
these things that I hate,
yeah,
still not very comfortable, right?
yeah. So how do we create boundaries on like cravings and also like emotional eating? How do we stop that? Like, do you have any kind of formula you use?
Yeah. I mean, my whole process is based on a lot of the mindset pieces, how and why we think about our food,
Yeah.
how and why we're thinking about our eating. Um, and one of the ways that I describe it is through my tongue body brain alignment framework, or TBB alignment. And it's
Mhm.
really it makes the eating situation very simple. So if you think about your tongue as your taste preferences in this moment, and your body as how you feel right now and how you'd like to feel after you eat,
Yeah.
and then your brain as, the knowledge that you have, like, of your schedule, of what food's available, of the patterns in your history and things like that. And you say, okay, what would be satisfying in all three areas?
Mhm.
Ideally, right? Like, you can't always have those things, right? Sometimes we'll just need to be okay with something that's slightly less than satisfying. But what would feel good in all three of those areas? Your preferences, your body, and the knowledge that you have. And
Yeah.
that tends to be a little bit more of a neutral place to be, because it gives you a lot of information about your situation, rather than saying, I can't or I shouldn't. And then you have this big drama. And you could just say, hey, okay, if I take this back away from my brain in overdrive, right? Or my tongue in overdrive, and it's totally out of alignment. And
Yeah.
then say, okay, how would I like to feel now and after I eat? And you bring the body back into that. Most of the time, that's what's missing. And we say, okay, now what? What would be the most nourishing thing that I can do for me right now?
Right. So yeah, but a lot of people after like setting a mindset and everything, like you probably seen it yourself, New Year resolution people do like I'm gonna eat healthy and my diet will be on the spot by February 15, most of them quit or probably quit on the second week of January. And it happens every time. So how do people can stick around for a longer period rather than they think about it's a diet or they have to and they probably eating wrong food, probably they don't like it and they can't stick around for long term with the meal meal plan they have at the moment. So how they can eat what they like or enjoy and they can create a lifestyle around it rather than calling it a diet.
Yeah, yeah. The first thing I would do is to stop all your diets. Like, you can't just dress up a diet in non-diet clothes and then say, like, I don't understand why it's not working for me, right? Like, it's still a diet underneath.
Yeah.
Um, and one of the ways to do that, one of the first steps I talk about is allowing yourself to be able to eat. And it might feel scary at first. And this is why a lot of people really like working with somebody else through this process, is because all the information that you've gathered in your brain, either true or incorrect, right? It's going to come up during that time. And all the thoughts and the emotions that are going to come up can be quite intimidating. And a lot of people just stop if they don't have that support. And it's interesting to see, when you allow yourself to eat the food and actually enjoy it, you may not actually want that food. Like, things get less exciting when you're allowed to do them, right? Like sometimes the excitement is just because it's off limits,
Yeah.
or you're eating past the point where you'd actually like to eat because this is your one chance and it won't come around again because after this you're going to be good. So it gets to be like a self-fulfilling prophecy that you can't stay on the diet because the diet was never set up for you in the first place. It's going against biology. And I don't think it's responsible for us to keep telling people that, oh, it's fine, let just stick with it longer, try harder. Like, no,
Yeah.
it's not going to work for you. Your body's going to fight back. So the best thing we can do then is to support our bodies by coming back to them, and preferencing the internal cues rather than the external rules.
Mm. Yeah, it's so true. Like with myself, like I focused on before, like I did so many diet, and after like a month or two, like I had to give up. I did like a keto diet, and I wasn't enjoying it at all. Like I like my rice, I like some kind of bread and pastas, so I have to be around it. So after like doing a keto for 2 months, then I gave up. But I lost a lot of weight. Came from 95 kg to like I'm sure about 76 kg within 2 months' time. And I needed that fast results because I couldn't walk or couldn't run that time because my asthma was really, really heavy and I couldn't do physical exercise doing with the carbs diet. So it wasn't ideal that time. So I did like a keto diet for 2 months. And then I realized, no, this is not like the longest way I can go about. Like I'm not enjoying it. I'm not going to stick around. And then I had to figure out like what I really enjoy. Like from Asia, so like I'm from Bangladesh. We like bit spice things, so I had to follow them kind of healthy way. Like how can I cook my food? Checked a lot of YouTube for like recipes, follow them. And right now, like what I eat, like I don't feel like I'm doing any kind of diet, or I don't have to like think about ahead what to cook and what to figure out. My wife is there; she's cooking mostly. That really helps. And then like I don't have to worry about like a taste, flavor, or like a consistency because it's already there. So for long run, I think is the best way to do that. Like finding out like what you enjoy and like, and then sticking to it, it'll be much easier. And you just at the beginning you have to focus on like why you're eating and how much you're eating first for 4 to 8 weeks, I think. After that, your stomach gets used to it. Like you can't eat more than the portion of you normally eat, and then you're not going to overeat as well. And like most importantly, like drinking lots of water. I wasn't drinking like a more than 2 cups a day. That's why I feel like always my empty stomach is empty and need to fill up with something like a snacks or like a something rubbish. And as soon as I started to drinking 2 to 3 liters a day, like I'm feeling like even though my main meal is getting harder to eat because I'm already feeling full. So drinking and keeping hydrated is most important thing as well when you're like focusing on a balanced diet or eating healthy or staying in the shape. Do you agree with that?
I agree with parts of what you said. I think some of it, isn't how I would approach things.
Hmm.
Um, and I think that, as somebody in the non-diet space, like I would never condone someone to say like, hey, yeah, go and do weight loss for even a short time. No, I think intentional weight loss as something, if I was to recommend it, would be irresponsible,
Yeah.
because it doesn't, in the long run, we don't actually have that control over our bodies like we are told we do. So, I'm thinking long-term health, not just in the next 2 months, right? I
Yeah, that's
want to
what I'm
teach people
saying.
how
Like that's why
to,
I'm
yeah,
my approach is the eating way, like a long term. It's not like a short term.
yeah,
So
yeah. And so even like with water, right? Like I agree, it's good to be hydrated. And I think one of the things to think about there is like we don't even have to like do it so that we don't feel full, right? Like I just want to clarify that one. I don't think that's what you meant to say, but I think that a lot of diets
everyone
they
is different.
take,
Like some people's are their weight, their height is different, and they how much the activity they're doing. Like it depends how much water you need to take in. So
yeah,
certain like
yeah.
athletes, they've been working out like 4 or 5 hours a day, and they need to drink probably 4 or 5 liters a day, and their body can take on it. If I'm sitting all day today, I'm having a lazy Sunday, I shouldn't drink like a 3 liters. There is no space for it. and I have to keep on going to the toilet and bathroom. So you have to
Right.
understand
There's
that,
the
like,
automatic
it's
body
for my
response,
body.
right?
Yeah, it's for my body. Like, I
Yeah.
needed to take on the amount. My doctor recommended it because I got a lot of health issues. So it's my body, it's how much I can take on. Like, even though I feel full, I have to take that on because my body is already taking a loss of blood is I'm losing. So you have to take
Yeah.
on that. Like, I'm got IBD, so I'm losing lots of blood. So I need to refuel the amount. So I'm continuously hydrated. Otherwise, I'll be unconscious. So yeah,
Right.
everyone is different, and everyone need to look out for like how much activity they're doing. Are they doing lots of jogging, walking? Are they like
Mhm.
doing physical work rather than office job? If you're doing office job, then obviously you don't need that kind of amount. You need to figure out there is online in the Google, and you find out like with your body weight and everything and activity level how much water should take, and they'll give you the exact figure. With my medical condition and everything, I have to take more than what my body need because of what's going on. So it's everyone different, and then they know like how much to take on.
Yeah, yeah. And I think like even if the recommendation said one thing, right? Like these online calculators, here's the truth about those things.
Yeah,
They're based on formulas that we have,
yeah,
but all these formulas are guesses.
yeah,
And so really what you're doing is the best, right? You're talking to your medical team who knows you and your conditions and your
yeah,
situation, and you're having, actual feedback from your own body, saying like, hey, if I drink too much, then I end up going to the bathroom, I can't get anything done. If I don't drink enough, like I get lightheaded, I'm going to pass out because I'm losing blood in my particular
yeah,
condition, right? So that's a great example of what we were talking about earlier, right? Using your particular situation and your
mm,
internal cues and meshing that with the nutrition science, or your knowledge that is outside of your body, but doing it in a way that still respects the body information that you have rather than overriding it, right?
yeah. Everything got their limit, isn't it? Like if you do too
Mhm.
much to anything, too much eating, too much drinking, gonna cause you something. Too much taking drugs, like medical drugs, then obviously
Right.
taking too many aspirin gonna cause you a lot of problem. You're probably gonna thinking like having too much aspirin gonna go your headache away, but it's gonna be rebound. And yeah, everything goes a limit to it. Like if you watch too much movies all night, then obviously your sleep gonna be disturbed. So yeah, everything goes a limit to it, and we have to respect that and how much you can take on. You have to know everyone different.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Shelly, yeah, we're going to end up this podcast. It's been a great pleasure having you on the show, and we had a great conversation. So those listening, if anyone wants to learn more about yourself or where to find you.
Yeah. So my website is confidentnutritionnow.com. If you are interested in like the stress eating, and like how to figure out what is going on in your situation, I have another resource for that if I can share.
Yeah, sure.
So if you go to confidentnutritionnow.com/stress eating bundle, you can grab that as well. And that has 3 things in that bundle to help with the stress eating situation.
Yeah. All right, then, Shelly, thank you so much for coming today. I wish you best of luck with your personal life and your career. I hope you have a wonderful new year. Whole year goes according to your plan. And yeah, thank you for coming today.
Thank you so much for having me, Marcel. Thank you.
Yeah, it was my pleasure. Thank you. So that's a wrap, guys. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast episode. I hope you enjoyed it and got some value from it. And you know how to find Shelly. Go visit her website or reach out to her. Until then, I'll talk to you in the next episode. Take care.